ego states and our multiple personalities. So each and every one of us has multiple personalities. And it's not multiple personality disorder or anything like that. This is like everybody, all of us have different personalities that we bring out in different situations. And we have somewhere between, say 10 to 25 that we operate with on a regular basis. And in total, we could have well over 100 different ego states or different personalities that come to the surface, what we call the executive. So they are, driving the bus. They're in charge, and all our behavior and everything is all geared to that ego state that's available at the time. And so you've got a handful of them that are like your most common go-to ones. And just a quick example is that you have a different ego state when you are with your parents than you do when you're with your girlfriend or when you're with a friend. If you're out at a concert, you have a different ego state that comes out than the one that goes to church. So each one of us have these different faces or masks that we put on, and when we're in a different situation. And so with ego state therapy, what we look at is a trauma happens. And this is like, in the beginning, we're a whole person. We're one whole person. And then a trauma comes along. And that trauma triggers our fear response, which is fight or flight, puts us in sympathetic operation. And in that, we protect ourselves and we put up a shield. So whatever that aspect is, whatever part of us was threatened or hurt at that time, we put up a little piece of a shield here, so we block it. And this new personality is meant to protect that. And so every time a similar occurrence happens, these are our triggers, the buttons people push. So every time a similar occurrence happens, then that part of us comes out and it protects us again. And it's the same age at whatever age it was when it was created in the first place. And it becomes what we call a gestalt. And so every time that similar kind of trauma comes along, then we are put in that position again. And everything that's related to that trauma, our triggers could be anything from a smell. So somebody yelled at us and said, called us a name, and they were wearing a strong aftershave. And so every time you smell that aftershave, suddenly this protective version of you comes out because you've been triggered. And so these are the things that happen and run our lives all the time. And so, this might be ego state number 35 that doesn't come out very often, but when you smell that Old Spice or whatever it was, all of a sudden it's there, and you're acting in strange behavior and you don't even know it because all your behaviors, the unconscious level. It's other people that notice most of this stuff. To you, you're always you, of course. Or so we think. When you learn about the shadow, you learn that things are a little bit differently than what we think. In the mirror, all perception is projection. So we can only see in other people's what we see in ourselves. So everybody's a reflection of us. So when you're mad at somebody, just remember, it's all about you. And so we're talking about ego states. And so ego states, when we do ego state therapy, when you're in a situation and you have an ego state for reading a book. When I play my drums, I have an ego state for playing my drums. I have another ego state when I'm driving my car. And so the ego state that I have for reading a book isn't suitable for when I'm playing my drums. And the one that I'm using when I'm playing my drums certainly isn't going to sit down and read a book. So I have to adjust each one of these to be that version of me and have the resources that I can do the task at hand. And sometimes the wrong ego state. If I'm standing here presenting and the scared, meek version of me comes forward, then what am I going to do? Just be scared on here and not be able to talk? And that used to be a lot of people still have that, where the ego state of protecting themselves comes out. They're trying to talk on camera, but they can't even remember what to say because they're in fear. When you're in fear, of course, you're in present danger. You can't come out of the present now. The now is an unconscious realm, and you can't go into a transderivational search in order to, look at your memory and then come back with the answer. And so you forget what you're going to say. And that's what happens when you're in fear. And so in some of these ego states, they pop up at the inappropriate times. And what hypnosis can do is it can help you to bring those ego states out. And when you're in a certain situation, you can pick and choose the best ego states for whatever it is that you're doing. And so what we could do is erase all the trauma. We can't erase the events, but we can erase the emotional links to whatever that was, so that, it still happened, but now it doesn't trigger you anymore. So you don't go into that ego state anymore. And that ego state, we can give it a new job now. It can be upgraded and brought into the present, because when that happened, you learned so much more since then. And so maybe instead of being scared, it can do something else to protect you even better. And instead of being there in these kind of situations, maybe it hands the job over to another ego state that's better suited. And that way, the hypnosis can really make a change so that you can do whatever it is that you have to do without having to worry about the fear. Getting over the fear is understanding the fear and where it's coming from. And these ego states, they're fear, and they protect you. And when you work through the issues, all of a sudden things change. So hypnosis is great for that. And you can find out more. Go to my website, jeffbroomfield.com. I've got a free strategy session, 20 minutes. We'll talk about what your goals are, and we'll get your answers. We'll get answers to your questions. And if I think I can help you reach your goals, then I'll let you know what I can do for you. So, go to my website, book yourself a session. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, have yourself a good one.